Chapter 13 of the Sports Psychology Handbook is titled Sports Psychology in Tennis. In this chapter, we take a look at self-talk and how it plays an important role in the mental training of athletes who play tennis. Simply take a look at the mental aspect of the game. There are very few people who realize how difficult tennis really can be. In a sport that plays a 2-hour match, there's really only about 30 minutes of tennis that is actually being played. The rest of this time is called dead time. And this is where a lot of thinking time goes, which puts a lot of pressure on the mind. Another thing that weighs down on a tennis athlete's mind is the calling of lines. More often than not, players are having to call their own lines, and when one begins to think unfair calls are being made, that can really get into the athlete's head and affect their game entirely. The fact that this is an individual sport and all eyes are on the one athlete can be psychologically draining. There's no team to pass the bucket, and every single mistake that is made all relies on this one athlete. The exactness nature of the tennis game makes many things a whole lot worse. A simple 2-degree tilt of the player's racket can make or break the entire match. Even the scoring system plays a role in the mental challenge of this game. Players never have a match won, nor are they ever really out of the match, so they need to keep playing until the very last point. These are all very important factors that affect the mental perspective of the game. These factors, as well as a few others, are what psychologists consider when creating a mental training program to help these athletes and many others not be affected by each mental difficulty. When creating a mental training program, sports medicine officials have categories that they expect to meet with each player that goes through their program. The first is challenge and skill balance. During this, they try to match up players with equal level of ability. A lot of times this doesn't happen. So when players are playing people that they are not normally as good as, they kind of play up and bring their level of ability up so they can meet the challenge that they're going against. And vice versa when they play someone who is not as good as they are, where they downplay the challenge somewhat. The merging of action and awareness is when the player feels that they are actually moving with their sport as one. A tennis player has described the feeling as like the racket was a part of their own body. This is where things just occur because they're supposed to occur, not necessarily because the athlete is thinking about it over too much. The feelings of confidence is when the athlete has a strong belief in their ability and that they see nothing but good ahead, even if to others it might seem like a poor performance. Focused concentration is when the player is entirely focused on the right now. One tennis player was quoted saying, "Very often in a tennis match, you can point to one point or game where for a couple of shots you lost concentration and you just didn't do the right thing. But what was the difference there? There was no difference. You can't do anything about it now." This mental training program also tries to set out clear goals for each athlete. They need to know in advance what they're going out there to do, whether it's practice or a game. They need to know what needs to be done and then get to doing it. Sometimes when an athlete reaches peak performance, they experience a loss of self-consciousness. Now, they don't pass out as if they lose consciousness, but they just feel as if everything was going right. Some have been able to come off the court and not even realize what they were doing. They just knew that they were doing something they love and it was the right thing at the right time. The last piece of this program is enjoyment. They can't have a player out there playing something that they don't enjoy. Some players may have other incentives like receiving money or awards, but at the end of the day, the main reason they play is because they enjoy the game themselves. The first article that I saw that went along with this chapter in the book was entitled "The Involvement of the Sports Medicine Specialist in the Mental Training and Professional Athletes." This article goes on to say that aside from the main characters of an athlete and sports team, minus the athlete and the coach, there also needs to be necessary involvement from people like a sports medicine specialist, maybe a massage therapist, a physical trainer, a psychologist. All of these people are key ingredients to a disciplinary team. Now, for financial reasons, not very many teams are able to have all these people on staff, which is why the tasks are having to be handled by the coach or the massage therapist all at once. Like, instead of having all those different people for each different thing, one person is doing everything, which doesn't allow as much focus that is needed for each aspect. This article, much like the book, states that there needs to be a mental training program in order for an athlete to be successful. One of the most prized relationships is the interaction between an athlete and its trainer. By establishing this mental training program that the athlete has to go, it helps the relationship grow between athlete and trainer. Another big topic that was highlighted in the Sports Psychology Handbook was the effects of self-talk. This article I found, titled "Effects of Self-Talk Strategy in the Mental Training of Athletes," defines what self-talk really is. The article explains it as having a conversation with oneself. It says that it can be whether it's out loud and open, or it can just be a small voice in the athlete's head. A lot of the times athletes step out on the field and feel as if they are well prepared, but then they don't achieve their desired results. When they don't achieve those results, a lot of the time those athletes turn to negative self-talk. Negative self-talk has actually been proven to really affect the athlete and put them down, and eventually making them play worse than they did before. Now, positive self-talk is what they see as successful. They state that successful athletes use more positive self-talk, a whole lot more than less successful athletes. It states that, based on previous research, it concludes that self-talk is usually treated as the integral part of a comprehensive mental training. So not only is the mental training needing to be done, but self-talk is a huge thing in it. Along with self-talk, they also use imagery, relaxation, and goal setting. Today, they have a large number of studies which have provided immense number of evidence that show the effectiveness of independent self-talk techniques. It also shows that when the athlete improves self-talk, they improve their athletic performance, which improves their self-confidence and eventually reduces anxiety. After reading both these articles and the sports psychology handbook, we have come to the conclusion that a mental training program is essential to an athlete's performance. Having a mental skills training program for the tennis players, along with other athletes from other sports, have been shown to improve the game of each individual athlete. Also, we see the effectiveness of self-talk on athletes and the way they play. Being such a big thing in the mental training program, self-talk really needs to be looked at and carefully focused on. We can truly see how self-talk makes successful athletes when used positively. After implementing mental training programs, not only will these athletes feel well prepared, but they will mentally be prepared and ready to take on each individual game. The Sports Psychology Handbook focuses on tennis, yet this mental training program can be used with each sport and help all those athletes improve their game as well.